We are back with news on News 1575. Iran could resort to cyberattacks or terrorism to retaliate against the U.S., military analysts say. Two military analysts have said Iran could resort to asymmetric measures, such as terrorism or cyberattacks, to retaliate against the United States because Israeli attacks have reduced Iran's military capabilities. I think the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps is probably trying to figure out what capabilities it has left, said CNN national security analyst David Sanger. It can shoot missiles. But in October, the Israelis took out the equipment that's needed to actually make new solid fuel for those missiles. So, every one they shoot off is an asset that they can't really replace. The IRGC is a branch of the Iranian military that was established in the aftermath of the country's revolution in 1979 and reports directly to Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. I think the IRGC is going to be a little bit careful, and I suspect that's going to take us to all of the asymmetric things they can do, cyber terrorism. I think that they're probably going to be looking for things where the US cannot just put up the traditional defenses, he added. Similarly, retired Major General James Spider Marks, the head of geopolitical strategy at Academy Securities, an investment bank, told CNN Israel, did a pretty good job of damaging Iran's capacity to launch its rather robust missile inventory. But, albeit wounded, the IRGC still has some tremendous capacity, he said. It has capabilities that are already within the region and then outside the region. We are vulnerable around the world where the IRGC has either influence or can make things happen asymmetrically, he added. However, Marks said, the United States is aware and prepared for that, and could potentially get ahead of it before any of those possibilities can be realized. Iranians had faced the possibility of U.S. intervention ever since Israel launched its strikes on nuclear and military targets, yet when it came, some said they slept through the strikes. Qom residents woke to the sounds of emergency vehicle sirens blaring and an increased presence on the streets of the Basij militia, a volunteer force made of fighters loyal to Iran's religious leaders. But 5 people living in Qom, a city that lies some 30 kilometers, or about 18 miles, from the Fordow nuclear site that was struck by the U.S. early on Sunday morning, said they were surprised to find out about what happened when they got up in the morning, having heard nothing overnight. The U.S. bombed the Fordow fuel enrichment plant just after 2 a.m. local time Sunday. Qom, like other Iranian cities, does not have an aerial attack warning system, so residents would have had no warning before the strikes. Qom is considered a holy city, home to Iran's largest and most famous Shia seminary. Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei studied at the Qom seminary, as did several of Iran's former presidents. Similarly, people living in a village some 35 kilometers from the Natanz facility, which was also bombed overnight, also said they didn't hear anything last night. President Donald Trump made a final decision minutes before the bombs were dropped on Saturday, Vice President J.D. Vance said, adding that the U.S. president had the ability to call off this attack until the very last minute and decided to proceed. The U.S. is now closely watching whether Iran attacks American troops or continues its nuclear weapons program, Vance said in an interview with NBC's Meet the Press with Kristen Welker. He suggested that Iran's next steps would become clear within the next 24 hours, describing a very delicate moment. So far, Vance said, the U.S. has received some indirect messages from the Iranians, as Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said earlier Sunday that there are both public and private messages being directly delivered to the Iranians in multiple channels. Pressed on what would happen if Iran takes steps to disrupt shipping in the Strait of Hormuz, Vance said the action would be suicidal and would destroy their own economy. Vance reiterated that the U.S. has no interest in boots on the ground and dismissed concerns that the U.S. involvement would escalate. U.S. airstrikes on Iran's Fordow nuclear facility appear to have left at least 6 large craters, pointing to the use of bunker-busting bombs, a CNN analysis of satellite imagery found. The images captured by satellite company Maxar showed 6 visible separate impact craters in 2 nearby locations at Fordow, a highly secretive site buried deep in the mountains. The craters can be seen along a ridge running over the underground complex. Earlier Sunday, a U.S. official confirmed to CNN the U.S. had used B-2 bomber planes to drop more than a dozen massive bunker buster bombs as part of the attack on Fordow and 2 other nuclear sites. These weapons can penetrate deep underground before detonating and are seen as essential for targeting the facility, much of which is buried beneath the ground. Satellite imagery also showed significant changes to the color of the mountainside where the site is housed, indicating a vast area was covered with a layer of gray ash in the aftermath of the strikes. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham said he talked to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Sunday morning, hours after the United States launched military strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities. Graham said Netanyahu asked him to tell the American public that Israel is profoundly grateful for all we do for Israel and very grateful for President Donald Trump for what he ordered last night. He wanted me to urge the Iranian people to end this madness, take this regime down and have a better life for yourselves and be part of the region in a new and different way, Graham told NBC's Meet the Press, adding that Netanyahu also wanted me to tell the American people, Israel's not going to live this way anymore. Graham, a close ally of Trump who has been urging the president to take action against Iran, said he doesn't see U.S. boots on the ground in our future, but I do see Israel not stopping, predicting Israel would make Iran's regime change or replace it. This was the right call at the right time. Stopped their program from advancing even further. Iran with a nuclear weapon is an existential threat of the state of Israel, Graham said. The country is in the hands of religious Nazis. Vice President J.D. Vance, in his first public comments since President Donald Trump authorized U.S. strikes on Iranian nuclear sites, emphasized that the U.S. is not at war with Iran as he laid out the president's decision-making process. We're not at war with Iran. We're at war with Iran's nuclear program, Vance said in an interview with NBC's Meet the Press with Kristen Welker, calling the strikes a testament to the power of the American military. Asked what intelligence led to the decision, Vance described a narrow window of opportunity. We had a narrow window of opportunity. We might not have been able to carry out this attack 6 months down the road. We have a narrow window in which we can set that program back a very long time. It would have been irresponsible, I think, for the president not to take the action that he did, he said. Vance added, of course we trust our intelligence community, but we also trust our instincts. The Iranians stopped negotiating in good faith. That was the real catalyst.